of Robin, who Tim Drake, to be specific, right? So this was out in DC, and at first it was a question of like, well, Tim Drake's coming out, right? And so my initial reaction to it was that they're retconning him again, like almost as if it's an Iceman level move to where, well, wait a minute, that character was never gay, and yet they're making him like full-fledged gay. But as it turns out, it's not that. It's that he is simply bisexual or simply questioning his sexuality. And the full story kind of broke, but obviously the media ran with it in the way the media always does, right? Like, Robin is finally gay, and we knew it all along. But when you actually dive into
Robin is finally gay.
Right. No, there was literally NPR's headline. There was an NPR headline. Robin comes out as gay, and it was obvious the whole time. And it was like, see, it's headlines like this.
The headline was terrible. Like, which Robin? There's been 3. There've been 5.
Yes.
Technically, right? So like, you gotta be a little specific when you say Robin, right?
Yes. But this is this. You know what? I was even thinking about this the other day, right? When the age of newspapers. Remember the age of newspapers, when newspapers was your main source for everyday news? Maybe.
Sadly, I can remember that time.
Right.
It's a shame.
Their job was literally to clickbait you once, right? Maybe twice if you read the back page, right? The back page was always like sports if it was a tabloids in New York, right? New York Daily News and Post would have a front page and a back page, or you'd have something like the New York Times, or Washington Post, or even just your local paper, right? Like there would be some big headline on the front that would be like, hey, I'm going to lop down a dime, a quarter. It was 50 cents
just so
for
I
me.
could read about that headline. That was used to sell the entire
bit of news, one headline. Now, media in general are fighting for every single story. Every single story does not make money unless they have something that's going to bring you in. So, obviously, the immediate reaction I had from just, my friend of the show, James Massia, sent me a text. Hey, did you see this? It's like, oh, man, it's the usual like eye roll that I have when it seems as if things are being done as a publicity stunt. Then I read, and it's like, well, wait, which Robin? I had the exact same question. I said, there's 5 to 10 Robins, right? Like, there's, everyone's been a Robin now. I mean, they even have,
it's quite a few of them.
Right,
Yeah.
they have alternate reality Robins, but of course the media will grab hold of that and say Robin because it is a Robin, but they're doing it to make you click on their articles.
So now you'll click on it just to find out which Robin,
right?
And what
And then I found it was Tim Drake. Now, full disclosure, Tim Drake was my Robin, right? I mean, we talk about this, right? We talk about like, what era did you grow up in? I didn't grow up in the Dick Grayson. Dick Grayson was Nightwing for a long time. By the time I started reading comics, Jason Todd was long dead by the time I had started reading comics.
Wow, really? Because I actually
maybe not long dead, maybe 3 years. But I mean, when you're 10 years old, 3 years might as well be an eternity, right? Like, what, he got killed in '86, right?
Yeah, which means I grew up in the Dick Grayson era, which really sucks.
that's a different. Wait, really? Dick Grayson was your Robin?
Yeah, when I was reading comic books. I mean, if I
don't think so. We have to find out.
No, I mean, like, I started reading comics maybe 79, 80, like as soon as I could read, and then there's also the Adam West Batman, which was prevalent.
Well, that's different. Yes.
So that was Dick Grayson. Absolutely.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's Dick Grayson. When was he not Robin?
And that Dick Grayson was definitely gay. So I mean, we're gonna have that conversation about anything. Actually, all of Batman, all of the Adam West Batman was strangely homoerotic. But only if you take that spin on it. If you
look, that's like
that's a hot take.
Eye of the beholder, right?
Yeah, it's a hot take. It's that take is.
No. Look, no. As Nightwing, July 1984. So he was Nightwing as of 1984.
Yeah. So if I was reading comics in '81,
I don't think he was. I think Batman didn't have a Robin for a while.
No, but I mean, Dick Grayson was Robin. regardless of whether he was in the comics or not. He had been Robin.
He had been, yes.
And he didn't get a new Robin until 84. So
Correct.
that basically up until that point, Robin was Dick Grayson.
Right. So who we knew as Robin was that. So anyway, Tim Drake was my Robin. And when I read an article about this from the writer on it, she said, just to be clear, he had dated Spoiler, who was one of the characters in the who also became a Robin, by the way, and then was killed and then was brought back. It was really kind of crazy. To be clear, his feelings for Stephanie have been and are 100% real, as are his feelings for Bernard. Bernard is the new quote-unquote love interest. However, Tim is still figuring himself out. I don't think he has the language for it all yet. That one statement, to me, kind of justifies the transition. It's not like rebooting his continuity like Iceman. Like Iceman, basically, they're like, we need to have more representation, and we're going to choose Iceman because why not? He's Iceman. To me, I always found like the fact that he got retconned gay was actually the most interesting thing about him, because I can't think of anything about Iceman that was interesting prior. Could you tell me something about Iceman besides the fact that he could turn into a block of ice and ride an ice wave that is of any memory whatsoever?
He was on Spider-Man and the Amazing.
Right. So that's he wasn't even in the comics. But I'm talking about
the only
character,
reason
right?
I knew who Iceman was.
He dated Opal from X Factor. I can't think of a single like Iceman, like definitive, like out of the original X-Men. Jean Grey has the Phoenix Saga. Cyclops has the Storm fight. Where Storm like fought for control of the X-Men, and then he ended up dating Emma Frost, and then he like a lot of like interesting moments. Angel
Wolverine
obviously
had a bunch of arcs to himself.
Right.
Angel lost his wings.
Right. I can't think of a definitive like
really
Iceman.
A lot of there was a point in the 80s and rendition of the X-Men when he had to wear an inhibitor belt or something like that because his ice powers would freak out, So I mean, that's something, right? That's an event, right? I don't know. Okay, right. All right. Maybe you might be right about ice.
But that's my whole thing about it, right? Like I don't think there was anything interesting. So you know what? If the writer felt this was an interesting way to take him, I think it was Bendis actually at the time who wrote it, I'm okay with it. And then I look over to Tim Drake and I say, you know what? I was a teenager when he first debuted. He debuted in '89, and so I started reading him in the early '90s when it was Chuck Dixon's run, and that was like my teenage superhero. Like, I mean, Spider-Man wasn't even a teenage superhero back then. Don't forget. I mean, Spider-Man was essentially married at that point. I mean, he was in his mid-20s.
He was a man. He was called Spider-Man,
Right.
And he was a man. He was in his, him being a teenager and him being a perpetual teenager is a very recent retcon.
Yes.
I mean, in the last maybe 20 years, and for virtually most of the 80s, he was a young adult. He was a mature adult into the Spider-Man thing, and then they just instead of pushing it forward, they just kind of started going backwards with him.
Right. So I kind of looked at this move as, you know what? I stopped reading Tim Drake. He got lost in the shuffle. He got lost in the Damian Wayne arc. He got lost. Dick Grayson went off to be Nightwing, right? I mean, he ended up becoming this other superhero. He was Red Robin at one point. But ultimately, I look at him and go, you know what? I'm totally fine with this because it's respecting what came before. He's now going to be someone else's Robin at this stage of the game, where things like talking about your sexuality in a comic book was very rare back then, but it's very commonplace to do it in the public discourse thanks to social media in general. Great. Someone's going to read this comic. This is going to be someone's Robin, and I'm fine with it. Totally fine with it. So I'm excited to see Tim Drake back in the spotlight again. It doesn't close the door to him choosing one side or the other in terms of what he feels about himself. The writer basically says this is a journey. And if Tim Drake can represent a journey that I think all teenagers in some way, shape, or form, maybe not about sexuality specifically, but they go on their own journey to find themselves, can go through, great. Because now someone has someone. Now someone out there has a superhero that they can, kind of like relate to and read. And like I said, he was the only DC character I actually read. I didn't find a lot of DC characters to be as interesting. I liked Batman.
Tim Drake?
What's that?
He was the only DC character you read?
Yeah, he was the only book I bought on a monthly basis. Like, had to, but it was a must buy. Yeah. When I was in my heyday, I was an X-Men guy.
But you don't mind that they've sort of reshuffled the deck on him?
No, because they're basically saying, look, he's still technically a teenager, so he's still, it's one of those like amazing, like, how the aging thing works. Like Dick Grayson has somehow become like a man, but Tim Drake has kind of stayed in place a little bit. No, I don't, because again, I stopped caring about him because I'm not a teenager anymore, and like Iceman, I don't. If this is something that's going to reinvigorate the character, great. If it's going to take him into a story direction that people care about, and he's going to be a character that people care about again, great. Like, where's the harm in it at that point?
I think he still, he still ends up in a better place than he did in the animated series.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's a brutal ending to give to any character in the animated series. I don't know if anybody remembers that, but so, yeah, I mean, look, representation, whatever.
No, but I'm not even talking about it as representation.
No, I know. I'm not really gonna soapbox on it at all. I get that. I kind of understand if you grew up with a character in particular and they alter the character. I understand not liking that, not being cool with that or whatever. But I don't know. Your character kind of starts dating someone else. How much? I mean, I'm trying to think, like, how many girlfriends did Wolverine have?
Right?
Or, Bruce Wayne, like, his girlfriends tended to become supervillains. I mean, so it was important to know who or superheroes or supervillains.
Mm-hmm.
Besides Mary Jane, what was the Black Cat was Spider-Man's other girlfriend, so it's kind of important who she is, but who cares, like, who half of these guys are dating or not dating? I don't know. Like, if I'm trying to think if that would ever really bug me about a particular character, because it was always so ancillary, because usually, like, especially with X-Men or whatever, when some of these characters were supposedly seeing someone, they'd be off on a mission so often you wouldn't even see that side character,
Right.
So who knows? I mean, but I get that it's a thing, I get that it's a thing and why it's a thing. So, good luck to them.
But I would sit there and say, beyond the thing, I think that it's being approached from a story perspective. It's not as if, again, I don't even think the mainstream media knows who Tim Drake is. They just know the name Robin, and so they're going to cling to it to get clicks.
But I remember the new Robin outfit, right? That with pants, when he first got pants. That was on the news. Thing. That was, I don't know if you might be too, and I don't mean to disparage you. You might be too young to remember that the outfit with the outfit that he had on in the animated series, and also in the Batman and Robin, I think, or Batman Forever, whatever, when Chris O'Donnell had become Robin, and he had a full body suit, he had the red tunic, and then he had the green pants, and the longer yellow cape that was black with yellow on the inside on the inner lining. That costume had debuted maybe a year or two before that on DC, and that was on the news. That was on the Channel 7 nightly news.
Yeah.
He's got. And I think it was Tim Drake about that, because it was also a It was also a Kevlar suit. It was bulletproof.
Okay.
And so they were, people were like, yeah, so this Jason Todd thing's not going to happen again because, Batman finally gave his Robin some clothes that's
Right.
going to protect him from. So, it's fairly, Tim Drake has fairly gotten a decent amount of acknowledgement, I guess. Tim Drake was the Robin,
Right.
in the animated series. It was second Robin. They skipped the Jason Todd completely in the animated series. They went from Dick Grayson to Tim Drake. So I guess people know him. I do agree with you. In recent times, he's kind of fallen back into the scenery.
Yeah.
He's fallen by the wayside a little bit. But I don't really know what he's doing for the most part. I remember the Jim Lee Batman, where he's that controversial rendition, and Tim Drake was in that, I do believe.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He hasn't been on the map in a long time. So if this is a way to get him back in there, and he'll be someone else's Robin, I think I'm okay
why not?
with it. I think I'm okay with that. What do you guys think? Comment in the comment box on Facebook.com/Rogue Matter Podcasts or YouTube.com/Rogue Matter. Leave us your comment. We will comment all week long, and we will give you our opinions for sure. All right, when we come back, What If was a huge success, and it scares the crap out of me for the future of comics. I will tell you what I mean when we come back.